I think it might be time to normalize being single and alone. I'm really sick of people making it sound like, you know, in order to be happy, like in your future and everything else, you have to find your person, because people will be like, oh, don't worry, you'll find someone eventually, or something along those lines. And it's like, okay, but it's okay if I don't also. And by you saying that kind of makes me feel worse about not finding someone.
Yeah, you should. Waiter, do you have fried bumblebees today?
You gotta love it when a modern woman calls on society to completely change the way it views basic human pair bonding because she feels bad for being alone. But you should feel bad. Woman, it takes an impressive level of dense to not take any accountability for the men you chose to sleep with and then call on society to tell you that it's perfectly okay that you completely squandered every single chance you had to be with a good man. And yes, it really is that simple. There were literally millions of men out there who would have been a solid match for you, but you make this absurd notion to deem all of those men unworthy of your glory as if you were the immaculate driving record of the intergalactic space god Red Brownachard, all hail, which is impossibly blasphemous and foolish. And I gotta tell you, sister, you're just calling down his wrath, and he is not one to be trifled.
And like, I shouldn't. Like, it's absolutely okay. Some people don't find their person in life. A lot of people don't. And I feel especially nowadays with the way things have changed. So maybe let's just, you know, get rid of the stigma that you have to be with someone and just embrace being single, because it's okay.
Yikes. Well, good luck with all that.
That is where you're wrong, sister. There are plenty of women out there who find halfway decent significant others. And you know how they do that? They don't act like they're entitled to Commodore Chadford. At any point in your life, you could have found yourself a halfway decent guy. You just decided you were entitled to a fantasy that never existed. Your bad feelings could have been avoided if you just accepted that you're not gonna find that rich, perfect man that's gonna sweep you off your feet and solve all your personal problems. Now you're too far gone. Your attitude, body count, and inability to emotionally bond with a man has left you lost, confused, and untrustworthy. And now you want society to forgive you for thinking that your life was just one gigantic romantic comedy. And don't get me wrong, your life is a comedy, just not in the way you expect, because we're the ones that are laughing our heads off.
Indeed! This is one of the biggest struggles I see with single women in their 30s. My name is Megan. I'm a licensed holistic therapist who specializes in self-love, breakups, and relationships. And I'm also a single woman in my 30s who teaches you how to love your life on your own before you meet your person. One of the biggest frustrations that I see with single women in their 30s is that our society glorifies and celebrates big life milestones like engagements, marriages, buying houses, having babies, things that come with being in a partnership.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
Time to bust out the essential oils in the Himalayan salt lamp, gentlemen and gents, because we got ourselves a holistic therapist who's gonna point out the obvious. The reason why society celebrated milestones like getting married and buying a house and starting a family is because they're big deals. Well, they were. Modern women kind of ruined all of those things for the rest of us. What used to be celebrations of adulthood and generational tradition has now changed into a series of social media flexes. Modern women think the wedding is the main reason to get married in the first place. Modern wives will have kids then divorce their spouses because they're tricked into thinking they're unhappy. Plus, it means free child support and alimony for the rest of their lives. And single women are buying houses thanks to money funded by simps because of their OnlyFreaks accounts. And they're typically getting those houses at god-awful mortgage rates because they don't know any better. So there isn't much point in celebrating these things anymore because that particular swimming pool has more urine than water.
So oftentimes, as a single woman in your 30s, you might spend a lot of time and money investing in celebrating your friends' big milestones. Going to their weddings, going to their parties, celebrating their children, all the while, nobody's celebrating you.
They know. They just don't care.
And what kind of a celebration are you expecting? They don't make congrats on failing at life greeting cards. The reason why society doesn't celebrate single women in their 30s is because there is nothing to celebrate. Your life isn't even worth the party of pure pity. At your age, you should have at least a few kids and should be focusing on making sure they have the skills needed to survive to start the next generation. And you should have a mate and be devoting your time and energy into your family, but you don't have that. And like I've been saying repeatedly, you have no excuse to why that never happened. You're part of a growing demographic of women that society doesn't care about, and you brought it on yourself. And all of this could have been avoided if you just added a little bit of humility into your personality, but from the looks of it, that was a little bit too much to ask, huh?
reality is, navigating life successfully as a single woman is something to celebrate. It's not easy, and you should be proud of yourself. The two things you can do if you're feeling burnt out on celebrating others is first to start celebrating yourself, even if it's just small wins each day. And second, set boundaries. You can't go to every single one of the parties, and that's okay.
Congratulations!
Sure, why not? Celebrate your small wins. Nobody's gonna care anyway, but what wins are we talking about here? Going 24 hours before re-downloading the dating apps you deleted? Or making it through yet another workday without melting down in front of your boss? Those so-called small win celebrations are empty gestures. Deep down, you know you failed and they're not gonna make you feel any better. And avoiding baby showers and weddings aren't gonna help much either because of your crippling social media addiction. You'll still watch the videos and look at the photos and read the comments, every single one of them a cold, dark reminder that you completely made a mess of your life and it was all completely avoidable. But I am feeling a little generous today, Holistic Lady, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw you the kind of celebration that you deserve. Here you go.
Woo! Hey! Hey! That was sort of anticlimactic.
This is for the girls that are learning how to be single and like being okay with being single. Like, I so easily could like get male validation or attention by like downloading apps or like posting the thirst trap, whatever, but like learning how not to do that and just being okay with being single. I don't know, like I can't be the only one going through this right now. It's hard. Like, this is not getting a text, like no text, like literally nobody texts me all day. I don't know, it's weird, but it's good for me, so.
I just had a crazy realization. Replace the phrase okay with being single with okay with not smoking cigarettes and it fits way too well. It's almost eerie. Just think about it. This woman has grown addicted to the validation from social media and dating apps that when she's without it, she feels like her life is completely missing something and she has no idea what to do with herself. And the same rules kind of apply for when you're quitting smoking. When you first quit, you need to relearn how to live your life without those cigarettes because they were such an integral part of your day. And you have to fight the temptation of walking down to the corner store or a gas station to pick up more smokes. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. The modern woman is going to endlessly crave the validation in social contact, so she's going to be tempted to re-download the dating apps as well as post thirst traps on Instagram just to get another fix for her crippling addiction to validation. But unlike quitting smoking, which is actually worth it in the end, she will never get used to quitting the apps was the basis for her entire personality.
I reached a point in my life where I'm so content being single. I just don't care to have the attention from multiple people.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
I don't feel the need to gain validation. Everything that a man or anybody could even say to me, I've already said to myself.
Aren't you lying? No. In fact, aren't you a liar? No more questions, Your Honor.
I don't need a guy to tell me I'm pretty. I don't need a guy to tell me I'm valuable. I need somebody who can recognize my value and my worth, and they don't have to sit there and tell me it. They'll just act on it, and they'll act the right way.
I don't think any of that's true.
Oh, sure, I believe you. We all do. You are so secure with yourself and your femininity that you needed to record a pep talk for yourself while in the middle of driving from your soul-crushing workplace. We all know the truth, woman, and that truth is you desperately want a man. The only problem is that you're incapable of being able to bond with another man because no matter how good that man might be, he won't compare to the one Tyrone that you think got away when in reality, he threw you away because you were nothing more than a disposable commodity to him. Now, in a desperate attempt to get any form of validation from a nameless pool of faceless internet strangers, you're telling them that you don't want any validation while deep down, you are praying that this video goes viral and floods your comment section with endless amounts of support. Or guys like me will find it and point out your blatant hypocrisy, but let's face it, that one's a given.
So okay with not being attached to the outcome of anything, because no one person is going to complete me, and no one person is gonna make everything okay. No one person is just gonna fulfill me. Even for the entirety of my life, I'm going to need a lot of different people. For right now, it's just me, and I do satisfy all my needs. I am the source of my happiness. I am the source of my pain.
Right, I believe there was an old saying that went something along the lines of, it takes a village of simps to fix a modern woman who refuses to be fixed. And no, that saying never made any sense, and to be fair, neither has anything you just said. It's almost impressive how you were able to contradict everything you've said multiple times in the same sentence. And the hilarious part is you have no idea that you just did that, and the second people start pointing out that little factoid to you, you will be adamant that you weren't contradicting yourself, and you're just going to accuse the people of calling you out of being misogynistic patriarchs. Face it, woman, you played the game of life, were handed endless amounts of advantages, and yet you still found a way to completely and utterly screw it up. I can't say that there's no shame in admitting it, but you should admit it anyway, because it's one of the few occasions in your life where you can legitimately be right about something.
All I need is one person, and that's what I'm looking for. But in the meantime, I'm just really focused on filling up my own cup.
Ew.
So that when that person does come along, I'm not giving it a place from emptiness. And I hope that my person, whoever is out there, is focusing on filling up his cup. So that when we find each other, we're 2 full cups.
Let's see that in an instant replay.
No one person is going to complete me, and no one person is going to make everything okay. No one person is just going to fulfill me. Even for the entirety of my life.
I rest my case.
That has got to be one of the dumbest and most painfully generic metaphors I've ever heard in my life. For starters, the massive amount of contradictions you've made in the last 90 seconds renders all of the points you've made completely moot. Second, regardless of how you filled this cup of yours, it won't matter because yours will always come from a place of emptiness. You passed yourself around, accumulated catastrophic amounts of damage, and you refuse any accountability for your actions. You're incapable of being able to emotionally bond with another man, regardless of how much you try to trick yourself into thinking otherwise. Which brings me to my last point. Because you're emotionally stunted, entitled, and incapable of providing the things a self-respecting man desires, you're gonna fall back into the one thing to get any form of connection or validation. And trust me, sister, that particular cup of stank only has a few years left before men won't want to fill it anymore. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents, and as always, if you find that my particular brand of humor is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this video around, and let's give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. And remember what the boys at Firesign Theater used to say, fighting is out of style, fun's where the fear's at, and until next time, peace out, homies.